Northwest Indiana is the last major portion of the state that does not have a trauma center. Now that may be changing. The Indiana EMS Commission recently designated Methodist North Lake and Gary as a trauma center in process. Actually, Franciscan Alliance also announced they are seeking the same designation for St. Margaret's in Dyer and St. Anthony in Crown Point. To talk about how this will work, we have two representatives from Methodist, Jennifer Mullins, she is the trauma coordinator, and then Dr. Ruben Rutland, who is the trauma medical director for Methodist. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So this has been going on for years. I've covered this story for years, that the absence of a trauma center in Northwest Indiana. Why is this all coming about now?
Well, it's been a long time in the making. I'm a trauma surgeon by training, and when I first finished my residency, I heard that they were trying to become a trauma center, and a lot of it was Dr. Mike McGee pushing it through the emergency department, as well as Congressman Charlie Brown. And I guess now all the stars line. They hired Jennifer Mullins. Actually, she got hired before me, and she started getting the ball rolling, and then I came along, and now as a team we were able to get a program.
So why is this important? I mean, for those that don't know this issue, why is it important that we specifically have a trauma center, not just the collection of hospitals that we do in Northwest Indiana?
It's a great question. Most people don't know that there's a difference between trauma and non-trauma centers. Most people, in fact, think their local hospital is a trauma center. The difference in the two is that when you transport an injured patient to a trauma center, you reduce their mortality by 30%. And it's because of all the processes and procedures you have into place to quickly and efficiently move a patient through the golden hour after their injury. So there's a big difference. That
golden hour being within 1 hour, that's the most dangerous hour for somebody who's experienced a car crash or other major trauma. You need to get them into surgery within that hour.
Yes.
Right. Well, not just surgery. It's the most critical hour. It's the hour of resuscitation. Within that hour, by the end of that hour of resuscitation, that patient needs to neither be in the ICU, in the OR, or downgraded to a not so critical level of care.
So how has Methodist had to change to meet this requirement of being a trauma center, level 3? And there are 3 designations. Level 1 is like the highest. Big teaching hospitals in Chicago have that.
Right.
Then there's a level 2, and then level 3 is the designation you're going for. How do you have to change things at Methodist?
Well, we just put protocols in place. As I said at the press conference the other day, Methodist has been doing trauma and has been doing trauma well. But what we did was we took a lot of the individuality out of it and kind of streamlined and standardized care. So now everyone speaks with the same voice. That way the person that's receiving the patient can anticipate what to do from the person that's bringing the patient to them at the next level of care, whether that's the OR or the ICU.
Yeah. And it really required us to take a really hard look at our capabilities and our resources to decide what level we should pursue. As a level 3 center, you have the ability to stabilize and resuscitate any injury. From that point on, you have to know what your hospital is capable of as far as subspecialties go, and then if that patient's injuries exceed those capabilities, you initiate transfer to a higher level of care, such as a level 2 or level 1. So we really took a good hard look at how we've always been doing that trauma and how we could do it better.
Mm-hmm.
I know one reason why we don't have a trauma center here is because it's expensive. It just costs a lot of money to have all these doctors available kind of at a moment's notice to handle these really tough cases.
Well, I'd like to clarify something. In fact, we do have a trauma center here now, and Methodist Hospital North Lake has been recognized as the state as in the process.
So you are, because you're trauma center in process, you're going to go for accreditation, but by the state's definition, you're the trauma center now.
Yes, we are officially recognized as the state's 16th trauma center. So we are filling that big gaping hole in Northwest Indiana. We're on the map.
Mm-hmm.
But the cost. We were talking about the cost.
The cost.
How expensive this is.
I think you're referring to like a level 1 trauma center. Level 1 trauma center, and I believe they actually started to do some research to see would we qualified it. I think there's another study out there to see if we were qualified to be a level 1 trauma center. They're always studying that area. That would be expensive, but I personally think that we would need that in this area. We have a lot of industry around the area. We have 3 highways going through the city. We get a fair amount of trauma, and it's going to take a commitment from the state as well as the region to bring that to pass, though.
And after the announcement came out that Methodist has this designation, Franciscan came out with the announcement saying that we are in this too. We're going to be going for this same designation for our hospital in Dyer and then in Crown Point. Is there competition between these hospitals?
I wouldn't say competition.
No.
I think what I understand the state is doing now, they're actually putting a hold on evaluating other programs right now. And that's just a temporary moratorium to evaluate what has happened in other states, which I think the state of Indiana does not want to happen here. It doesn't make sense to have a trauma center on every corner. The way a trauma center gets better is by volume. The more traumas you see, the better you understand your process and the better patient care that they receive. If you have a trauma center on every corner, then it's no different from being a regular hospital. If everybody sees a small amount of patients, then no one really gets better at being a trauma center overall.
So you want to be the trauma center for Northwest Indiana. You want to stake your claim, Methodist North and Gary, we want to be that trauma center for Northwest Indiana.
Yes.
Yes, and we will be for a while because, as Dr. Rutland said, there is a hold on the application process. They are reevaluating the criteria, so there won't be the ability for any other hospital to apply until at least after December. So we're on the, we're the first kids on the block right now. However, ultimately, should those other two hospitals achieve the same designation, it would serve the area very well because of where they're all geographically
located. We actually had Jean Diamond on, the head of Franciscan here, runs Dyer and Crown Point. So the reason we wanted to go for this is because they changed the law, and that if you have a patient who needs a trauma center, and that trauma center is within 45 minutes of wherever you are, you have to go to the trauma center. And they said they were losing patients not to Methodist at that point, but they were losing patients to hospitals in Illinois that were designated trauma centers. Yes. Is that part of kind of a competition now between these hospitals, or?
I wouldn't say competition. No. We all want quality patient care for the people in our region. So I wouldn't really say a competition. I think it's just. I wouldn't say competition. I'll leave it at that.
I think, and ultimately our goal is not to be the trauma center. I mean, yes, we're very proud. We are dedicated. We have worked really hard to get to where we are. But ultimately our goal, as is their goal, is to provide what's best for the people of Northwest Indiana. And up until now, there has been zero trauma care. So the fact that there's multiple hospitals pursuing this benefits the residents of Northwest Indiana.
One thing that could override it, assuming you're conscious, if you've had a car crash or something, you can tell the driver of the ambulance, I want to go to my local hospital, not the trauma center. If people are faced with that decision, why should they pick North Lake? Why should they pick going to Gary?
Because as we said before, if you look at the literature shows that by going to a trauma center, you decrease your mortality by over 30%. We have protocols in place that that streamlines the systems that a lot of regular hospitals that just do not have in place. When a trauma patient comes to our hospital, we have two levels of activation. We have a trauma activation and a trauma standby. A trauma activations are our sickest patients. These patients, it's all hospital hands on deck. When this patient arrives, they have a emergency room team that has trauma certificate nurses, emergency room physicians that has completed ATLS to be there at the bedside to accept those patients. They know clear the pathway for this patient. We clear off CAT scan to say this patient's coming to the CAT scan to streamline the process. We have an OR room ready at some point. So we have the ICU kind of listening out, waiting for us to come. So when this patient hits the hospital, everyone, even the patients on even the nurses on different floors are looking out, thinking, where's this patient going to go, and how can we anticipate and have a seamless transfer of care?
So a lot of this just simply has to do with speed, getting that patient in there quickly.
It's speed, but there's a quality component, and that's the main. That's my job's responsibility. Every single trauma patient that comes through our door, we look at the care that was given from the time they got in the back of the rig or the ambulance and the time they leave, and we're looking for, did we do the best that we could do? Did we follow our guidelines and procedures? Is there any place that we can do better? And that quality piece is what differentiates a trauma center from a non-trauma center. You have somebody always looking at the process.
You're at level 3. Do you want to go to level 2 to become a much more comprehensive trauma center? That costs a little more money, I know, and things like that.
Let's
enjoy our moment now.
Yes, let's get verified by the American
Yes.
College of Surgeons at level 3,
Yes.
and then
Okay.
we'll revisit that later.
Yes.
Because there's a study that's coming out by the Regional Development Authority looking at whether or not Northwest Indiana needs a trauma center. Charlie Brown, Representative Charlie Brown, has been
Right.
looking at that for years, and he's hinting that it's going to say that, yeah, we need one, but it's expensive. It's going to cost us too much money.
Right. Well, still, I think we need to enjoy being a level 3 trauma center. It's a lot of work at this point, and we're willing to make that to tackle that, but we don't want to bite off more than we can chew right now. I just want to say one thing about when Jennifer says about the program, and I said in the meeting before, it's a dynamic program. Jennifer Mullins as well as Latasha Taylor, they review every trauma patient that comes through our hospital. So our program is pretty much being reviewed on a daily basis, and then by a group of surgeons and administration and nurses once a month, to make sure that we're doing the best thing for each patient.
Tremendous amount goes into this. Well, unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to leave it for right now. Dr. Ruben Rutland, he's the Trauma Medical Director at Gary Methodist North, and Jennifer Mullins, she's the Trauma Coordinator. Thanks to both of you for being on.
Thank you
for having us. Thanks.